breaking the chains, confronting generational trauma, and reclaiming our future. Welcome to a journey of transformation, a path that leads us through the shadows of our past and into the light of a brighter future. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches every single one of us, whether we realize it or not: generational trauma. This isn't just another conversation about mental health or family dynamics. This is about the very fabric of our society, the invisible threads that connect us to our ancestors, and the power we have to weave a new tapestry for generations to come. I'm honored to share with you the profound insights I've gained from an extraordinary individual who's dedicating her life to unraveling the complex web of generational trauma. Hikina Henderson, a visionary thinker and author of the groundbreaking book, Broken Mothers Create Wounded Children, has opened my eyes to truths that are both uncomfortable and liberating. Her work isn't just changing lives, it's reshaping our understanding of human behavior and offering hope for healing on a scale we've never seen before. Imagine for a moment that our lives are like trees in a vast forest. The roots of these trees stretch deep into the earth, drawing nourishment or toxins from the soil of our ancestors' experiences. Some of us stand tall and strong, while others struggle to grow, their branches weighed down by invisible burdens. But here's the thing: we didn't choose the soil we were planted in. We didn't choose the seeds of trauma that were sown long before we were born. Yet, as Hikina so powerfully reminds us, we do have a choice. We can choose to become aware of these hidden influences. We can choose to name them, to understand them, and ultimately to decide whether we want to keep nurturing them or plant new seeds of healing and growth. This awareness, this choice, is the first step in a journey that has the power to transform not just our own lives, but the lives of our children, our communities, and our entire culture. It's a journey that requires courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to facing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. As we embark on this exploration together, I want to share 3 key insights that emerged from my conversation with Hikina. These insights have the potential to radically shift the way we think about our past, our present, and our future. The first insight is this: generational trauma is not just a personal issue, it's a cultural one. The wounds of our ancestors don't just affect us as individuals, they shape the very fabric of our society. Think about the collective traumas that have shaped our nation: slavery, war, economic hardship, systemic oppression. These experiences don't just disappear with time. They're passed down, often unconsciously, influencing our institutions, our relationships, and our sense of self. Hikina shared a story that illustrates this point powerfully. She spoke about a community she worked with where domestic violence had been a persistent issue for generations. On the surface, it might have seemed like a series of individual cases, tragic but unconnected. But as Hikina dug deeper, she uncovered a pattern that stretched back decades, a legacy of pain that had been silently shaping lives for generations. In this community, men who grew up witnessing violence in their homes were more likely to become abusers themselves. Women who had been raised to believe that abuse was normal, even expected, were more likely to stay in abusive relationships. Children grew up thinking that love and violence were inextricably linked, carrying this toxic belief into their own adult relationships. This cycle wasn't just about individual choices or personal failings. It was about a collective wound that had never been properly addressed or healed. It was about unspoken rules and expectations that had been passed down like heirlooms, shaping behavior and perpetuating pain. But here's where hope enters the picture. When this community began to openly discuss this pattern, when they started to name the trauma and its effects, something remarkable happened. People began to question long-held beliefs. They started to challenge the status quo. And slowly but surely, they began to write a new story for themselves and their children. This leads us to our second key insight. Healing from generational trauma requires us to break the silence. The power of trauma often lies in its ability to make us feel isolated, to convince us that our pain is unique and unshareable. But when we dare to speak our truth, When we share our stories and listen to others, we begin to see the common threads that connect us all. Hikina emphasized the importance of creating safe spaces for these conversations to happen. She talked about support groups she's facilitated where people from all walks of life come together to share their experiences with generational trauma. In these groups, a grandmother might realize for the first time that her harsh parenting style was a result of her own childhood experiences. A young professional might connect his fear of success to the messages of scarcity he internalized from his parents. These moments of realization can be painful, but they're also incredibly liberating. They allow us to see ourselves and our loved ones through a lens of compassion rather than judgment. They help us understand that the behaviors and beliefs we've struggled with aren't character flaws, but adaptations to trauma that no longer serve us. Hikina shared a powerful example of this. She spoke about a woman in her 40s who had always struggled with self-worth and had a history of abusive relationships. As this woman began to explore her family history, she uncovered a pattern of abuse that stretched back 3 generations. Her grandmother had been abused, her mother had been abused, and she had internalized the belief that this was somehow normal or even deserved. But instead of feeling defeated by this realization, this woman felt empowered. She decided that the cycle would end with her. She committed to therapy, to learning new patterns of behavior, to healing not just for herself, but for her children and her future grandchildren. She became, in Hikina's words, a generational pattern breaker. This woman's story is a powerful reminder that while we can't change the past, we have the power to shape the future. Every time we choose self-awareness over denial, every time we respond with compassion instead of judgment, every time we prioritize healing over hiding, we're creating a new legacy for the generations to come. But breaking the silence isn't just about talking. It's about listening deeply without judgment. It's about creating an environment where vulnerability is seen as strength, not weakness. It's about acknowledging that healing is a collective process, not just an individual one. This brings us to our third insight. Healing from generational trauma is not just about the past. It's about actively shaping a better future. As we become aware of the patterns that have shaped us, we gain the power to choose differently. We can decide to be the generation that breaks the cycle, that plants new seeds of healing and growth for those who will come after us. Hikina shared another story that illustrates this point beautifully. She worked with a man who came from a long line of alcoholics. His grandfather drank, his father drank, and he found himself falling into the same pattern. But as he began to explore the roots of this addiction, he discovered a history of unresolved grief and trauma in his family. His grandfather had lost his brother in a war and never properly mourned. His father had grown up with an emotionally absent parent and used alcohol to numb his own pain. Understanding this history didn't excuse the behavior, but it provided context. It allowed this man to see his addiction not as an inevitable fate, but as a coping mechanism that he could choose to replace with healthier alternatives. With support and therapy, this man not only overcame his addiction, but also became an advocate for mental health in his community. He started support groups for other men struggling with addiction and worked to create a culture of emotional openness among his peers. His journey of healing rippled out, touching lives far beyond his immediate family. This story reminds us that when we heal ourselves, we heal our lineage. When we break the cycles of trauma, we create new possibilities, not just for ourselves, but for all those who will come after us. But let's be clear, this work is not easy. It requires us to confront painful truths, to challenge deeply ingrained beliefs, to sit with discomfort. It asks us to be vulnerable in a world that often equates vulnerability with weakness. It demands that we take responsibility not just for our own healing, but for contributing to the healing of our communities and our culture. As I reflect on my conversation with Hikina, I'm struck by the enormity of the challenge before us. Addressing generational trauma isn't something that can be done overnight. It's not a problem that can be solved with a quick fix or a simple solution. It's a journey, one that requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to keep showing up even when it's hard. But I'm also filled with hope because in acknowledging the reality of generational trauma, in breaking the silence that surrounds it, in committing to healing and growth, we open up new possibilities, not just for ourselves, but for all those whose lives we touch. Imagine a world where we all had the courage to confront our inherited traumas. Imagine the ripple effects of healing that could spread through our families, our communities, our nations. Imagine the potential we could unlock if we weren't held back by the unresolved pain of the past. This vision isn't just a dream, it's a possibility that's within our reach if we're willing to do the work. And that work starts with each one of us right here, right now. Hikina shared a powerful metaphor that I think captures this idea beautifully. She likened the process of healing from generational trauma to tending a garden. When we inherit a garden, we don't just inherit the flowers and fruits, we also inherit the weeds, the pests, and the depleted soil. We have a choice. We can ignore the problems and watch as they worsen, or we can roll up our sleeves and get to work. Healing from generational trauma is like pulling out those deep rooted weeds one by one. It's like enriching the soil with new nutrients, planting seeds of hope and resilience. It's a process that requires patience, persistence, and care. But with time and effort, we can transform a neglected, overgrown plot into a thriving, beautiful garden that nourishes not just us, but all who enter it. This metaphor reminds us that healing is not a one time event, but an ongoing process. Just as a garden requires constant care and attention, so too does our emotional and psychological well being. We must remain vigilant, ready to address new challenges as they arise, always nurturing the seeds of healing we've planted. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. I want to invite you to embark on your own journey of awareness and healing. Start by asking yourself, what patterns in my life might be rooted in generational trauma? What unspoken rules or beliefs have I inherited that no longer serve me? What conversations do I need to have with myself and with others to begin the process of healing? These questions might feel uncomfortable. They might bring up emotions or memories that are difficult to face. But remember, discomfort is often a sign that we're growing, that we're pushing beyond the boundaries of what's familiar into new territory of understanding and possibility. And you don't have to do this work alone. Reach out to trusted friends or family members. Seek support from mental health professionals who understand the complexities of generational trauma. Join or create support groups in your community where these conversations can happen safely and openly. Most importantly, approach this journey with compassion for yourself, for your ancestors, for all those who are grappling with the effects of generational trauma. Remember that we're all doing the best we can with the tools we have, and that healing is a process, not a destination. As Hikina so powerfully reminded me, every step we take towards healing, every conversation we have, every pattern we break is an act of courage and love. It's an investment, not just in our own well being, but in the well being of all those who will come after us. We have the power to write a new story, to plant new seeds that will grow into a forest of healing and hope. It won't be easy, but I believe with all my heart that it's worth it. Because when we heal ourselves, we heal our lineage. When we break the cycles of trauma, we create new possibilities for generations to come. So I challenge you today, be brave enough to look at your inherited patterns with honesty and compassion. Be bold enough to break the silence and share your story. Be determined enough to plant new seeds of healing, even when the ground seems unyielding. Remember, you are not just healing for yourself, you are healing for your children and your children's children. You are healing for your community, for your culture, for our shared human family. Your journey of healing is a radical act of love that has the power to change the world. As you leave here today, carry with you the knowledge that you have the power to break the chains of generational trauma. You have the strength to rewrite your story. You have the courage to create a new legacy of healing and hope. Let us commit to this work together. Let's have the courage to face our inherited traumas, to break the silence, to choose healing over hiding. Let's be the generation that says the cycle ends with me. Let's be the ones who plant seeds of healing that will grow into a better future for all. The journey starts now with each one of us. Are you ready to take the first step? Are you ready to break the chains and reclaim your future? The power is in your hands. The time is now. Let's heal. Let's grow. Let's transform, not just for ourselves, but for all the generations to come. Thank you